Hi, everybody, and welcome back to Borderlines today. Now, I'm going to do a video today because I was talking to one of my oldest friends from Southampton yesterday. I was talking to him on the phone. I try to give him a call every day because gone through a bit of a bad patch over recent years after his wife cheated on him and ended up leaving him for another man. Which is never great, to be honest. I suppose it's better than a woman, but it was another man. So I was talking to him yesterday on the phone, and we started talking about the economy, Brexit, all of those types of things. And I know what a lot of you are going to say is this the type of thing you really talk to your friends about. When it comes to me and him, yeah, it is because we're very much into politics. And the irony was when I was on the phone to him last night, probably around about 6 o'clock last night, he said to me, was it a mistake leaving the EU? Okay, and having Brexit, even though he voted for Brexit, okay. And would we be better off going back in when you take, for instance, because his argument is the financial argument, because he claims the UK is doing way worse when it comes to the economy than the likes of America and Europe, China, India, all these types of countries. Which isn't entirely true. If you actually look at the stats, it's not true. Okay, we're not that much worse off than America, and we're pretty much the same as the EU. Okay, so we were having this chat and we got in an argument over it, as you do with your mates. Okay, and then I woke up this morning to this story on my phone. Okay, and I'll read what it says to you from the BBC. I know what you're going to say. How much of the BBC can we believe? Okay, but it's pretty much the same with all publications. And it says UK officials suggested establishing a single market for goods trade with the EU as part of the next phase of its Brexit reset. The BBC understands. Industry figures briefed on the move said the idea has been taken forward at this point after EU skepticism. Okay, as attention focuses on the details of existing negotiations over food, farm, and energy trade. So the EU aren't even crazy about this, but would it be a good idea? That's the question you got to ask yourself. Doing something like this, would it be a good idea? And no matter what way you go, you're going to piss off a certain amount of the population because you're going to have the what 51, 52% that can say we had Brexit, we had a referendum, we voted for Brexit. It'd be wrong to overturn what the people voted for. And yeah, they've got an argument for that. Okay, you can't dispute that. But if the vote had gone the other way, okay, what would they be saying then? And that's where my argument is. Okay, if it was a case that we never had Brexit, okay, the vote never went through, would people be still banging on saying that we need to leave the EU and everything? And it's one of those questions you can ask a million and one times. You're never going to get a true answer. Okay, and it's like I said to a friend of mine, I said, the reality is you're doing it on the wrong question because would we be better off financially by being part of the EU? Maybe. There is an argument for that. would we be better off going back into the EU based on immigration? I would put money on it, we would be. Okay, if you look at the numbers before Brexit happens, okay, and even the first couple of years after Brexit, go and look at the small boats. Don't have to take my word for it. Just go and get yourself. Okay, and you'll be able to see what they're actually like. Now, if the EU were for this and they thought, do you know what? I think this is actually a good idea. Get the UK into the single market. It's going to benefit the UK and it's going to benefit the EU. Who would say it's a bad idea? I think there's an argument it could be seen as a bad idea because I'm going to guess, and this is a guess, and it's probably a very good guess, that we're going to end up paying them money, a load more cash, and then we're going to have to abide by all our rules. And then there's the potential that it could potentially cause us problems if we want to have trade deals and carry on having trade deals with other countries. Now, somebody may say to me, Kevin, you're wrong about that. We can still have all our trade deals and still be part of the EU. And that may be the case. You know, I don't actually know that one. I haven't looked into it, but I would suggest that is probably going to be the case. So, taking on that, are we actually better off going back into the EU? Is there actually any argument at all for us going back into the EU? And I don't think there really is. You know, we are where we are. We made the decision at the end of the day. And you can't argue to go back into the EU on one thing alone. Okay, you can't do that. You've got to have something more than just immigration, or if you want to do the economic argument. Is that all you've got? You've got to come up with more than that. And that's the same with all these Remainers or Ramonas, whatever you want to call them at the end of the day. They need to come up with something more than just the economic argument, because people aren't going to buy into that at the end of the day. You know, so what other arguments are there for going back into EU? And I actually can't come up with any. And I've been thinking about this for weeks. And I can't find a single argument, apart from immigration, to want to go back into the EU. So what I'm going to say to people today, whether you voted to remain, or you voted to leave, or if there was a referendum tomorrow, okay, whatever way you would choose to vote, is there an argument, and I'm just saying an argument, going back into the EU without coming back to me and saying about immigration numbers? When I talk about immigration, that's legal or illegal, okay, or just arguing the economic argument, saying, oh, we'd be so much financially better off if we went back into the EU, which is the argument the government are running, which is the same argument a friend of mine is trying to run. So what other arguments are there really? And you've got to be a bit sensible about this at the end of the day, to want to go back into the EU. So let us know in the comments down below. But for now, thanks for watching, and I'll speak to you all again a bit later.